All right, everybody. So in this stream, I'm going to try to test some capabilities of CHAT GPT and basically we'll try to make some formulas. So basically the idea here is going to be I want to preferably never write any formulas at all. So I'm going to ask ChatGPT to create a formula for me, and then I'm going to try to copy that formula and paste and see if that formula works. And I'm going to pretend like I don't know how to write any formulas whatsoever. So that's kind of what we're going to try to do today. And this should work both in Excel, Google Sheets for what I'm going to be doing today, so it doesn't really matter. I'll probably use Excel just because it's going to make it easier for me to zoom in, zoom out, and do this sort of thing. But again, if you want to use Google Sheets, I don't see any difference whatsoever in this one. So let's just start out by basically making an empty spreadsheet. So I'll go ahead and open this empty spreadsheet right here, and we'll do some imaginary budget for a hotel, I guess. So let's just think about what type of expenses we would have in this hotel. So I'm gonna create a column of expenses, and we'll probably also do a column of revenues at some point. So let's go ahead and add some different expenses we would have in a hotel. So I'll do something like mortgage. We'll do a few more things here. So I'm going to do insurance, property taxes, so that's pretty much where we are so far. So just these three. And for now, I just want to get the total of those. So we'll do fixed expenses. And I'll enter some numbers for each one of these. Let's go ahead and format this as currency. Should be good enough. So now let's get ChatGPT to give us the total for this. So my data is located where? From B2 through B4. So B2 starts here, B4 here. So let's go and start with something very basic. This, I think ChatGPT should not have a problem get us the total for that. So I'm going to go to ChatGPT and ask the question, how can I get the total for numbers in cells B2 through B4? And let's just see what we get. So basically, it gave me this. It didn't actually give me a formula, at least so far. It's still writing something. Didn't generate. It gave me a lot of help, but I didn't get a formula. So I'm going to stop this and I'm going to ask a follow-up question. Can you give me the formula? So apparently a problem, regenerate response. There it is. See, now it gave me this. It says this is the formula right here. So let's go ahead and copy that formula. So that would be everything between the quotes here. I'm going to copy that, go to my spreadsheet and paste. So as you can see, that was no problem. So it did give us the number. We got our totals. No problem. All right, fair enough. Let's continue by adding a couple of more things. So let's do some variable expenses here. So I'll do something like payroll. We'll do a couple of more things. We'll do snacks and drinks. And I'll just keep it simple. We'll do something like maintenance. So let's again add some numbers here. I'm pretty sure I made a spelling error, but it doesn't matter. So we'll just add some numbers. And again, let's get the total of variable costs. So again, I'm going to get it here. So now my cells are from B8 through B10. So I'll go back and ask. See, it starts B8 and B10. So I'll go ask, what's the formula to add numbers between B8 and B10? So there it is. Apparently, when I asked right away what the formula is, it just gave me a formula right away. That looks good. So we'll copy this formula again, everything in quotes. We'll go back to our spreadsheet and just paste it here. So that's our variable costs. So now let's add variable and fixed together. So we'll just do total expense. And over here, we basically want to get the total of this and this. So variable cost plus fixed expenses. So I'll just go and add some sort of question. So let's make that question, I guess, sort of difficult. So I'm going to say, I want to get the total expense. I have fixed costs and variable costs. Fixed cost is in, let's go check what cell it's in. So I'll go back and take a look. So my fixed cost is here, the B6, and this is B12. So we'll do B6, and variable cost is in B12. What's the formula? So let's do that. See what happens. So that's the formula it gave me. So again, I'm just going to copy paste. So copy that formula from here, go to my spreadsheet, paste it here. So let's go ahead and add some formatting here. So far, so good. So we got our total between this and this. So let's now add some revenues. So we'll just call it booking revenue. And for now, I'll just, again, enter some hypothetical number. And we'll add a couple of more revenues. We'll do like snacks and drinks again. And for this, I'll do some number again. So I'll just leave it at that for revenue. That's good enough because I want to kind of get to more interesting things, I guess, going forward. But for now, let's just make this currency and ask it to give us the total for this. So now we got booking revenue and snacks and drinks. So that's E2 and E3, right? So we'll go and ask the question. We know this, it's going to be able to do this already, but like I said, my objective here is to never write any formulas, just ask this thing to give me the formula. So how to get the total between E2 and E3. I think that's I believe that's what my cells are. So let's just go double check. E2, E3 seems correct. So let's go back and rerun this thing and see what it gives us. So there it is. That's our formula. It gives us this error. I'm going to stop generating the rest because I don't want to wait for this. So copy the formula, go back, and basically just paste it here. So we'll just say total revenue. All right, so far so good. So we got some of these numbers here. So now let's go ahead and rename this tab. Down here, we have this thing called Sheet 1. I'm going to double click on this. And let's call this thing, what should we call this? Let's call this Summary. Now I'm going to add one more tab down here. And I'm going to call this one Revenues. Actually, instead of revenues, let's call it booking revenue. So that's going to be this tab. So here I want to basically get this total number by adding up different revenues I get from booking different rooms, right? So I'm going to go here and write some information. So let's say in this hotel, we have X number of one type of room, X number of second type of room, X number of third type of room, sort of something like that. So let's see, what type of rooms would we have? So let's just call it studio. Let's add a couple more rooms here. So I'm going to do let's call it one bed, one bedroom, I guess, and two bedroom, something like that. That should be good enough. So I'll do quantity and daily rate. Again, I apologize for mistypes, but I don't really care about that so much in this one. I want to more concentrate about getting formulas right. So let's go ahead and enter some numbers. So let's say studio rooms, we have 80 of these. One bedrooms, we have 50 of these. And then two bedrooms, we have 25 of those. So I'm going to enter what the daily rate is for each one of these. So let's say for the studio room, it's $120 per day. And then this will be $150. And let's say this is $220, something like that. I guess let's bump this up a little bit. Let's do 170. So I'll go ahead and do this currency formatting again. So let's now get our total for this one, right? So let's ask the question. So we got 80 rooms, 120 rate. So I'm going to go here and ask the question. I'll try to use dictation a little bit here so I don't have to type too much. I have 100 rooms in a hotel, and daily rate for each is $120 per day. How would I calculate that total if the number of rooms is in B2 cell and daily rate is in C2 cell? So let's see if I got that B2, C2 correct. So this is B2, this is C2, right? So based on this, let's go back and try to rerun this thing and see what we get. So as you can see, that's the formula it gave me. So I'm going to copy that and paste the formula. And if you know anything about spreadsheets at this point, you know that this is not exactly correct. Well, what it's doing is multiplying by 30, I guess, to get for the whole month. So I'm going to hit enter. So that's what it gives me. So let's go back and ask a follow-up question. The number seems to be too high from that formula. Can you check again? So as you can see again, that now it decided to give me annual, I guess, because it's doing times 365. So let's just go ahead and paste that here. Well, apparently I didn't copy it. Let me copy it again so you can see. So going back here, I'm going to paste. And there it is. Now it's basically giving us the annual thing because it did like 365. Let's ask another follow-up question. The number seems to be too high. I wanted the total for the day, but this seems to be the total for the whole year. So stop generating. So that's the formula. So as you can see, you have to be very specific. Like when I said revenue, for some reason, it decided it's going to be like for 30 days. Now, when I asked for daily, it did figure out that it's supposed to do just daily rate times quantity. So I'll hit here and hit enter. That's good. So that's my formula. I'm going to drag this down to copy that for each line. So that's so far here. So now at this point, let's try to get the total for all of these totals. So I'm going to say total daily. So again, that's D2 through D4. I want to add all the numbers between D2 and D4. Okay, so I'm going to copy this. Go back to the spreadsheet, paste it here. Apparently, I didn't copy that right. Let's go back. See, missed the equal sign. It's annoying that it puts this whole thing in quotes like this. Nevertheless, we got our total. Okay, so now let's try to calculate our monthly total, I guess, based on this. But first, let's just enter like a start and end date. And I'll do, what month are we in? March. So that will be it. So let's calculate number of days. So again, I'm going to ask it to do this calculation. This is C9 and D9. Okay, so we'll go back and do that. I want to calculate total number of days between two dates I have in my spreadsheet. The end date is located in D9 and beginning date is located in C9. I think I got that right. Let's just go check. So this is D9, this is C9. Yeah, seems to be correct. Again, I'm using Apple's dictation built in, so it just does whatever it does. I'm just gonna run this. So that's the formula it gave me. I'm gonna copy that and paste. This formula isn't gonna be correct, by the way. I can see that already, but we're gonna paste it. And we'll ask a follow-up question to get this corrected. So it gave me 30 days. Now, we don't have 30 days in March. We actually have 31 days, right? So let's ask a follow-up questions. This formula gave me 30 days for March. It should have been 31 days. Can you correct it? Let's add, like I said, a period here. That was an odd, so that's the formula it gave me. But I'm going to copy that, go back, and paste it here. So let's make sure I paste the whole thing, not leave the first equal sign there. So that gave me this. Now that's a formatting problem on this one. I don't think it's going to be able to help us with that, but we'll just switch it back to general. And that is actually correct. That formula will work, even though it's a weird way of doing this. But hey, it works anyways. So who cares? We got our 31 days, right? Okay, so now let's calculate our total. We'll actually come back and do some more interesting things here in a second. But for now, let's just calculate our total revenue for month. So we have daily in D6 and number of days in D12. D6 and D12. Let's go ask the question. I have my daily revenue in D6 and number of days in D12. It does not understand what I'm saying sometimes, which is weird that it does understand it other times. Anyways, so that's that. How do I calculate monthly revenue? Question, what would be the formula? Well, I guess I should have said question mark. Let's do that. Let's see what we get. So again, it does times 30 for some weird reason. But I guess we know what that reason is because it's basically trained on some random data and it basically will pick up whatever answer it found most often. So see, it did this times this, and then I got this. So let's go back and ask a follow-up question. The number seems to be too high. Again, my daily revenue is in D6 cell. And the number of days I have in this month are in D12. What would be the formula? Okay, I have to fix some of this. Let's run this and see if we get the right formula. Okay, there it is. Copy that. We'll go back and paste the formula. So that's actually correct. That's times that. So it got me the daily revenue. All right, so now let's try to make this a little more interesting. What if we want to have weekday rate and weekend rate? And then we want to calculate the difference between those. So what I'm going to do some moving of stuff here. So I'll just go ahead and, well, I guess let's move this here. Move this here. Move this here. So that's our daily rates. Let's also move this here. So I'm going to have that. Actually, that total daily rate probably should be in a different position. So let's just move these things a little bit. So it's nice that we can go here and just drag things around. And it updates our formulas. Now, this was daily rate, so let's change this to weekday rate. And let's change this to weekend rate. So I'll just go ahead and bump up some of these numbers a little bit. Add our currency format as usual. So there you go. And this will be total weekdays. Or I guess weekday total. Let's call it that. That should be fine. And let's also do weekend total here. So again, let's get the formula for this. So basically, we have our quantity here in B2, and I got my weekend rate here in D2. I have number of rooms in B2 and daily rate in D2. I would like to calculate my daily total. What's the right formula? Hopefully I got those cells right, B2 and D2. Yeah, looks like I did. So I'll paste that and drag it down. So that gives me my weekend total. And we will get obviously our daily rate. So I'm just going to drag this over here to get my weekend total. So I got my start, end, I got all of these. I'm going to just drag this over a little bit more. So this is my start date and date. So now I want to change this. So instead of just being total number of days here, I want to change one of them to be the total number of weekdays and the other one to be the total number of basically weekends. So let's see if we can calculate that. So let's do weekday days and this one weekend days. So let's see if it can actually do this calculation. So I got my dates, see E10 and F10. Let's go see if we can do this. I want to get number of weekdays using starting and ending date. My start date is in B10 and the end date is in D10. I don't know if I got those right, but let's just go check it out. So our starting date is here. Actually, it's E10 and this is F10. Let's go fix those in my question. So this would be I think that's what I had. So let's copy this formula. And then paste it here. So that's number of weekdays. So now we need to calculate number of weekends. So let's go take a look. So it was able to figure out the right formula, as you can see. Now let's go back and do the same for weekends. Can you give me number of weekends between those dates? Let's just keep it simple like that and see if it does that. So I'm just going to copy this, go back to my spreadsheet and paste. And I got a value error. So apparently it didn't get this weekend argument correctly, as you can see. That formula didn't work. Okay, so we got a new formula. I think this one should work. So I'm going to copy this, go back here, and paste. And as you can see, it gave me number of weekdays instead of weekends. So it should be flipped basically here, the zeros and ones, but it didn't get that. So we're going to ask a follow-up question. That formula gave me number of weekdays, comma. I wanted number of weekends. Oh my God. So here we go. We got this formula. I'm just curious to see what this formula does. It's so insane. So we're going to copy that and paste it here. And oddly enough, that seems to be calculating it correctly. But you can see how weirdly it's using like indirect and row functions and all of this crazy stuff that it shouldn't really be doing. But I mean, you can't complain. That's correct. 8 days. Fair enough. So now, based on this, we could calculate our weekday total and weekend total, I guess. So I'm going to add a couple of lines here. Actually, let's add one more. So let's do weekday revenue and weekend revenue. And we're going to do our total here. So again, I have my daily total here in E7 and my number of days in E13. We kind of already know it can do this because I did this before, but we're going to ask it to do it anyway. So this is E7, this is E13. I have my daily revenue in E7. And number of days in E13. How can I get total revenue? Okay, so let's stop generating this, copy this, and paste the formula. So that should be correct. And we'll just drag this to the right. And then we're going to do this total revenue for month now by adding those numbers. So I'm going to clear that. I'm going to say to add this to this. So that's E16 and F16. I have my total weekday revenue in E13 and total weekend revenue in F13. What's the formula to add those? Let me see if I got those right. E13, F13. Was that the correct thing? It's actually 16. E13 would not be correct. So let's go fix that. 16. So I'm going to copy that. Oops. Stop generating. And paste that formula. So apparently I gave it. Did I copy the wrong formula? Let's go back and take a look. Oh yeah, I did. It's this one. So let's paste it here. As you can see, we got our total. So now let's check if it can actually link to this total from our summary right here to here. I want to link from my summary sheet to my booking revenue sheet. Where is this? F18. The number I want is in F18. So it's telling me what to do, but it did give me a formula here. Let me just follow up with this. Can you give me a formula? So it gave me a hyperlink formula to actually create a link. That is not correct. So it gave me, for example, if your workbook is hotel revenue and your is booking revenue, this is what it would be. None of this is actually accurate. So that's not going to work. So let's ask a follow-up question. That didn't work. Can you try again? So it gave me this formula now with a sum. So let's copy that and paste it. So we'll go here and paste that formula. Hit enter. That did bring over this, as you can see. It worked, even though it's not exactly the formula it should be doing. But as you can see, it works. It did give me the total. And it does point to the right thing. Can't be a live stream. Chat GPT limit to 25 messages in 3 hours. Well, it is a live stream, so apparently the limit maybe doesn't apply to my account, or I don't know what it is. But hey, it worked. So it did link to that cell. I mean, it's kind of weird that it did the sum, which it shouldn't do. But I mean, assuming we don't know anything about spreadsheets and we just copy paste, that works. That did link to this cell from this particular sheet, and I got my total. So as you can see, I can even do something like that to point to a different tab. Seems to work fine. So there it is. That's a little bit of testing of what we can do with basically Chat GPT and how we can get it to write some formulas for us. So, I mean, it's not ideal, but for most of these formulas, as you can see, if I asked the right question and I ask a follow-up question, it was able to get all of them done. I mean, some of them, like this one, there is obviously much better way of doing this. Instead of doing that, what it should be doing is basically using something like network days INTL and give me the start and end date, comma, and then as a weekend, it had kind of something similar when it did this, like 5 zeros and 1 1 here. And then it gave me this number. So what it should do is just basically switch those. So 5 1s and 2 zeros. So that would be the correct way of doing that formula in a more efficient way. But what it did, it actually went with that crazy thing that it found someplace. I'm sure there is somebody someplace who answered this question like this maybe like years ago, before network day INTL function even existed. But hey, this even worked. So it gives us the total. It's just going to be kind of, because we're using indirect, it's kind of going to be weird. But you can see how that works. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. So that's a little bit of example of using Chat GPT to basically create formulas for our spreadsheet. If you have any questions, comments, or maybe there's a particular type of formula you want to ask ChatGPT to do, or type of spreadsheet, maybe we can do a separate stream for that next time. Yeah, Leave me some comments, what type of things you want to try, and we'll give it a try maybe next time when we do this. And as always, thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and I'll see you next time.